Wildlife Conservation, Outdoor Oklahoma.
Well, hello and welcome to Outdoor Oklahoma. I'm Todd Craighead. You know, if you've taken hunter education, you'll no doubt remember the topic of the stages of the development of a sport hunter. Let's review those for a minute. The first stage is the shooter stage. Then there's the limiting out stage, the trophy stage, and the fourth stage is what we call the methods stage. That's when the individual is much more intrigued with the how-to of getting something done rather than the what. So today we're going to be talking about archery hunting. You know, it amazes me today when I think about all the technical advances in archery, from bows that'll shoot over 350 feet per second to crossbows like mine that use a red dot scope. However, with all those advances available today, there's still a contingency of archers that hold fast to the traditional aspects of archery. The use of recurves and longbows and what we call self-bows. And today we're going to be following an individual at an organizational meeting called OJAM, which is the Oklahoma Selfbow Jamboree held up at Stillwater each year. Today we're going to be following along with Cam, a first-time self-bower, as he develops and makes his own self-bow.
Well, what's neat about what we do is you can make a bow out of just about any tree, and you know, a lot of people don't realize that. They think that Osage orange is one of the only woods you can make a bow out of, and you'll see a lot of whitewood bows down here, bows made out of hickory, ash, hackberry. There's a couple of cedar bows around here, and as you can see, we got a lot of cedar, so it's interesting. You can come down and see what different people do with different kinds of woods, and everybody kind of has their own specialty and their own preference. It's interesting to see what people are doing with different kinds of wood.
Removing bark from a Osage stave on my first ever self-bow, made here at the third annual OJAM Selfbow Jamboree. First, got to remove the bark, and then I'll be working on the sapwood, which is your second layer below the bark. And from then on, I'll be trying to work through these, what they call chasing a ring, and trying to get down to some good bow wood.
You have to have one continuous growth ring on the back, because if you go down through a ring and you have two different rings, when the bow bends, it'll separate along the growth ring. So on the back of the bow, away from the shooter, you have to have one continuous growth ring. So that's the first step on working with a raw stave, is you've got to get it down. There's 5 years of sapwood, and that's the whitewood on the Osage, and you have to get all that off and get down and then chase one growth ring. And that's, after that, you know, it's pretty much just draw your bow out on it and rough it out and then go to it. But it's the most time, the part that takes the most time.
And you see that spongy stuff right there? That's new growth right there.
Yeah, that's early growth.
Early growth, old growth is the solid stuff. I come out of here knowing the difference between new growth and old growth.
This is the third year we've been holding OJAM. It started as a group of guys getting together to build bows, and it's grown to where we now have the big circus tent. We have about 15 to 20 bow benches being set up with everybody working on bows. We've got a lot of people here with a lot of knowledge about how to build bows, and we're just passing on the tradition. We've got a lot of flint nappers come in and they show how to bake arrowheads and everything, and it's really grown. Traditional archery has grown as a group in the bow hunting community, not only just bow hunting, but it's also in archery itself, where we have a lot of people that participate that don't hunt, and they come out and they want to learn how to build a bow. And we kind of pattern our gathering here after the original that started in Missouri about 10 years ago, and they hold it deep in the summer in the heat of Missouri, so we wanted to have one in the springtime here in Oklahoma. So we've got some vendors that come out here and sell traditional archery equipment. We've got all kinds of bartering going on. If you don't have a piece of wood, somebody's around that'll trade you one or sell you one or something like that. We've got people making strings for bows. Like I said, making arrowheads. We've got them doing all kinds of different things. It's just a really fantastic time, and there's a lot of things going on.
I've never shot a compound bow in my life. I started out with an old Ben Pearson recurve that my dad gave me. And I started bow fishing with that, and never, bow fishing was about the only sport that I did as far as any kind of bow hunting. So a couple years ago I started getting interested in hunting things other than fish. So I picked up that Ben Pearson, shot it for a while, and then liked the looks of the old long bows. So I had a guy make me a longbow, and made it for me cheap enough for me to decide whether or not I wanted to get into it. And man, I don't hardly even gun hunt anymore. So it's just something that just kind of grew on me.
For me, it was just the next challenge. I'd hunted with a compound, recurve, and then a longbow, and for me, it was just the next step. I'm not a trophy hunter. It was just something for me to do that made it a little more challenging.
Some of those compound bows are just, it's like carrying a block of steel through the woods, some of them. And, that's cool for those guys, but all those stabilizers and sights and, the whisker biscuits and all that stuff, that stuff's cool if you're into that, but to me, man, that's just more stuff to fall off and make noise in the woods, you know what I mean?
I've been making bows hunting bows since 1990. I grew up at Tahlequah, Oklahoma, and there were a lot of Cherokee Boyers down there, and I made bows when I was a kid, but nothing. I forgot all about that while I was in high school and college, and I had a friend that was making laminated bows, and so I made a couple of laminated longbows, but I just wanted to get back to traditional stuff, so I started making Selfbows in 1990. And I've been hunting I make hunting bows, and I make a lot of kids' bows, but I've been hunting with that stuff since 1990. I've taken black bear, white-tailed deer, coyotes, pheasant, javelina, big hogs, just about anything you can hunt with a Selfbow. I've killed critters with them, so.
You got the major part of it all. Now start right here. See where you got that smooth right here?
Yeah.
A little smooth. Now everything else is rough stuff. You want to take everything off. Leave that grain right there.
Okay, now what side of that blade do I need to use?
You still use this side. I'll get.
Just work it careful.
We're all bow hunters. To me, it's just a different aspect of the sport. I shoot 3D shoots. I've hunted exclusively with a Selfbow for about 9-10 years. I've now gone to stone points, been hunting with stone points for about 5 years. It's really rewarding for a person to harvest a deer with something that they made totally themselves, from a river cane arrow, stone point, self-bow. That was just the next challenge for me. So. Wouldn't touch anything from here back.
Okay, so I'm done in this area then.
For now.
Okay.
And you can see that ring.
Yeah, the edge of that ring, you can kind of get it in the light. There's a point right here.
Yeah?
That right there, that's one growth ring right there that needs to probably come off.
Yep.
How far down? Just totally?
I just take it.
16th or
I take it down. You know, you can feel how it gets kind of soft and pithy.
Yeah.
Take it down to that, and then we'll
just
check.
a little bit right in there, and then we'll bend it again.
Okay. All right, I'm getting somewhere, man.
Yeah, you got a good shape on it now. It won't be long. We can put a string on it and look at it.
Between those marks.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Oh, well, of course, I'm one of the guys that came up with the brainy idea of getting this thing started, and having, once an Okie, always an Okie, so having Oklahoma roots, you know, I thought it'd be good to have it down here. Now I've got people wanting to have a can jam in Kansas where I live now, but the first year, you know, I think we probably had 75 guys, and we had 4 or 5 states here, and last year we probably had 150, and Thursday night this year we had more people out here than we had the first year. And we've advertised it, you know, on some of the websites, and at the Oklahoma Outdoor Expo we handed out flyers and did some demonstrations down there. And I told everyone we're going to have a lot of people.
Still working on tiller. It's not wanting to bend in particular places, bending in places it shouldn't. So I gotta get to work on it. But I think we're starting to kind of come together on it. Got to work on it a little bit here and here, and eventually it's just gonna come together here pretty quick. I think that'll probably be the stopping point for the evening, and get to work back on it tomorrow, and hopefully finish up sometime tomorrow. Be shooting it by the end of the day, maybe.
That's louder than you would think. We'll be back with Cam at OJAM right after this.
Dove season kicked off a couple weeks ago, but most hunters won't notice that there's more than one species in the field these days. 3 other dove species are now pushing for their own positions in the Sooner State.
Mourning doves, you're going to find almost everywhere. They do great in towns. They don't mind the fields around here. You'll find them on the refuge and the hills. They're pretty much in every habitat you walk into. The other doves, surprisingly, are more common in the cities than they are out in the wild. White-winged doves, Inca doves, even though they're native to South Texas scrub, seem to do best here in and around towns. And the same thing is also true at your Asian collar dove. They occasionally make forays out into fields or to the refuge, but usually they're going to be sitting around towns.
No matter where they're found, each species has its distinctive characteristics.
Well, the mourning dove is the most common and the one we're most familiar with. And so if you consider that about a medium-sized bird, in comparison to that, the white-winged dove is larger. I'd say about a quarter larger than the mourning dove. And of course it's obvious because it has a white trailing edge on its wing. Inca dove, on the other hand, is about half to 3/4 the size of a mourning dove, so much, much smaller, lots of scaling on the breast, and when they fly, you see a nice little flash of orange underneath the wings. So a very distinctive bird in flight, at least. And the last one, the Eurasian collared dove, is even bigger than a white-winged dove, but a very, very pale sandy color. So that makes it look different to you initially. If you get a good look on the ground, they've got a nice little black collar on the back of their neck, which is part of the name Eurasian collared dove.
Mourning doves often flock to grain fields, but every species is easily attracted by the homeowner.
It's hard to beat seeing all 4 species sitting in your backyard. It's just kind of fun whether you like them or not. It's kind of a neat experience. And all 4 will come to your backyard feeders. And they'll usually feed on the ground. So if you sprinkle some sunflowers or sorghum on the ground, they'll stop and consume that.
Oklahoma sportsmen taking in all the Oklahoma outdoors has to offer are excited to utilize the realization of conservation efforts. Wildlife management, research, habitat restoration, and education among many projects funded through an excise tax paid by every hunter, angler, trapper, and boater buying outdoor products and services. Aside from fees paid for licensing, a percentage of every dollar spent on tools used by sportsmen to enjoy the outdoors recycles back into those conservation efforts. Thank you for your support.
The Oklahoma Wildlife Expo was once again a tremendous success, and we'd like to take a moment to recognize some of the many sponsors that helped to make the Wildlife Expo free to the public. Well, it's hunter education class season. They're free to attend, offered statewide, and a complete schedule of courses can be found either in the hunting guide or at wildlifedepartment.com. Don't put it off. Classes fill up fast. Now let's take a look at this week's outdoor calendar. To have your event posted on our outdoor calendar, log on to wildlifedepartment.com. If you need to replace your hunter education card for this hunting season, did you know you can go to wildlifedepartment.com and print one off for free? Check out more news of the week at wildlifedepartment.com.
See what it almost, and I saw Mike talking about it yesterday.
Well, I didn't have him work this section down to about here, and so we'll get this moving and get this moving here,
And then start tapering.
Absolutely nothing has changed. I'm still trying to get this thing tillered, trying to get them limbs bending evenly, and I got a little outfitted with a little bit better tools, so hopefully it'll be a little easier day. I can kind of slow down since I got, I think, the majority of the work done, so hope for the best.
My advice is, I tell everyone, if you're really interested in it, first of all, you need to read everything you can get your hands on. And I tell them to start with Al Heron's book, Cherokee Bows and Arrows. It's a simply written book by a very knowledgeable individual. You don't have to have a tool supply that, you don't have to be Norm Abrams. You start off with simple tools. And Al's book is very well written. It's explained very simply, and of all the books that I have, probably I learned more from that one simple little book.
Basically, I think the tillering is done. Now I'm gonna start kind of knocking off some of these sharp edges, putting a little bit of beautification into it, or at least make it a little more streamlined. Take the splinters off and get it fitted for a string.
So, what's been your favorite part so far as far as this process goes?
Probably just watching it go from take a log with bark and wormholes and everything on it to something that actually looks like a tool.
So you just need to hook up with somebody that has some knowledge, and you need to ask questions, and there is no such thing as a dumb question. You know, you just have to ask, and that's the good thing about this.
Cutting the nocks into the wood, into the bow tips, and those are the little channels that the string lays in.
That's one of the things that I've tried to do over the last 2 years is get pictures of guys shooting their bows for the first time. And a lot of guys like to get them at full draw, casting the arrow. I like to take the picture after they've seen the arrow fly because they have a smile on their face as big as Oklahoma, and not Texas.
Oh, we got the string on. Got it tillered fairly well, but I got to work this bottom limb in a little ways, and just for about the next half hour I'm just going to be sitting around pulling the string back and forth for a while, and hopefully that'll get that bottom limb worked into shape, and this the bad boy be ready to shoot. I'm getting tired now. I'm getting tired. No, I'm not going to make the shoot. I don't have any arrows, man. This is
25 minutes.
yeah.
Let him go.
Big old pull. Oh, geez. Whoa.
Well, it's been, I guess, about 9 or 10 months since the bow was a tree branch, a trunk, and this is what it kind of became into. We just finished its maiden hunt. It's not the sweetest shooting bow that I have. It's probably the prettiest, or not the prettiest, and but there ain't a heck of a lot of guys out there that say that they shoot stuff that they made with their own hands. So I think it's kind of rewarding afterward. You know, you get to look at it, and even if you don't shoot it, you can just hang it on the wall and admire it and bring it out and tell people you made it and they didn't. So
You know, I may be limited to having to use a crossbow during archery season, but nonetheless, self-bow making intrigues me. And if it does you too, log on to OJAM.org for more information about next year's festival. Good luck this archery season. And for all of us at your wildlife department, I'm Todd Craighead. We'll see you somewhere new next time on Outdoor Oklahoma.